You know, I always love this time on a Tuesday morning when we get to delve deep into local history. And there's only one person I prefer to do that with, and that's Harold Peacock from History Out There. How are you, mate?
Oh, fantastic, Damo. It's a great morning. This is a bit of a funny story, this one, I think.
Yeah. Now, listen, I was, not long ago in Warwick for the Jumpers and Jazz Festival, and I saw the Warwick Clock Tower, and you're asking the question, is it cursed?
Yeah, and more specifically, was it cursed in the 1930s? Because that's when a series of bad things happened to those connected with it.
Oh, okay. Well, do tell the story.
Yeah, so I guess a little bit of a history there. When the clock in the Warwick Town Hall was installed in 1892, it was described as one of the best and most complete turret clocks in the colony. Now, it wasn't cheap because it cost £341, which is over $300,000 in today's money.
Wow.
The clock only happened thanks to a public meeting called by the alderman, John Healy. Now, Healy came from County Limerick in Ireland. He twice served as Mayor of Warwick and was elected to council for an amazing 33 consecutive years. So we owe it to him.
Yeah.
But the clock hasn't always been in perfect working order. Now, you might remember the former Mayor, John Bellingham, who, while he was in office, used to climb up the clock tower most weeks just to keep it going. Right. And before that, maintaining the clock was done for about 20 years by watchmaker John Walsh, and it was a fairly bit bigger watch than he was used to.
Yes.
But before that, in the 1930s, a Warwick jeweller by the name of William Ernest Wallace was in charge of the servicing of the clock. Now, he was born in Uleba and spent the last 40 years of his life living in Wantley Street in Warwick. In 1933, he was called into the Warwick courthouse to give evidence in a case of stolen bagpipes. But other than that, his life was fairly quiet. But it's what was happening around him to his family that suggests he may have picked up some sort of nasty curse from the Warwick Town Hall clock.
Oh.
Now, I guess for him, bad things began in 1914 when Wallace's brother, David Wallace, was a driver of the train that ran over and killed a little old lady at Toowong in Brisbane. Her hearing wasn't as good as it could have been because, a young porter warned her a couple of times about the danger crossing the line. But anyway, she was run over by the train, and that was that. Now, in the 1930s, when Wallace started looking after the Warwick clock, that's when really bad things started to happen in volume. You see, in 1935, Wallace's son, Austin Wallace, was one of 4 people who were jammed into the front seat of a truck, 4 of them in a row. The truck collided with some stray cattle on the Ipswich side of Hakesley. The truck overturned and one of the passengers was killed. The victim was actually planning his 21st birthday that same day. It was tragic. And just 3 years later, Austin was again a passenger in a serious accident. This time the car he was travelling in overturned at the intersection of Wallace and Wood Streets here in Warwick. Also in the car was Austin's younger brother, Robert Wallace, who was still in high school. Now, there were broken bones everywhere. They were rushed to Warwick Hospital, but this time at least there weren't any deaths. Now, the accident just happened as metres away from where recently 12 mysterious deaths, yes, that's 12 deaths that occurred. It was at the home of Warwick Postmaster on Wallace Street that 12 of his 25 fowls mysteriously died during the night. Now, despite post-mortems, no death was ever found. But back to the family of the Wallaces, crammed in between those 2 awful traffic events involving Austin, the brother, in 1937, more misfortune happened. This time it was Wallace's only daughter, Wilhelmina Wallace.
Oh.
She was just 22 years old when she died in hospital in Brisbane. Even the fact that she was a nurse in the hospital couldn't save her from the Wallace's 1930s clock curse. So, Damo, next time you're in Warwick for a festival, look up at the Warwick Town Hall clock and don't just wonder if the time is right. Also think of the Warwick jeweller, William Wallace, because it was 90 years ago that he was in charge of looking after the clock and his family were dropping like flies all around him.
Wow. I wonder if he's any relation to Wallace of Wallace Bishop.
Well, there's Wallaces everywhere. There's even unrelated Wallaces out at Warwick as well. So if we got Wallace Bishop, although Wallace is his first name, but you never know, he could be related.
You never know. Well, I tell you what, that is a good one. And to think you can wander past in Warwick and look up at the clock tower and put all of that history into that story as well. So, but it's beautiful to look at, isn't it?
Oh, look, it's lovely. Warwick, you look at all the buildings and their monuments in the middle of town. It's just a beautiful place for that clock tower. That absolutely is important. And we owe it all to John Healy, that Irishman from Limerick.
Yes, I think I'll have to walk past the next time I go past the clock and go do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Hey, listen, another great story. Now, you're going to post this up on your website?
Absolutely. You can go to all the socials and find history out there, or go straight to the website, historyouthere.com.
All right, and you can read that story and many others. Always good to chat, mate. You have a great week, and we'll look forward to doing it again next week.
Oh, look, I'm really looking forward to it, and it's going to be an even better story next week.
Fantastic. There we go. That is, of course, Harold Peacock from historyouthere.com. Jump onto the website and you can read that story and many others, all local history pertaining to our region. So check it all out there, and we'll do it again next week. We'll take a break, come back with birthdays.